eyewitness weather forecast.
And a pleasant Friday evening to you, everybody. I'm meteorologist Jordan Reed, tracking a pleasant Saturday before storms return to the picture, and so does some of that humidity as we head toward the second half of the weekend and into the start of next week as well. So let's take a live look right now over downtown Utica, where currently it is 81 degrees. We do have a few clouds and a bit of that haze out there right now, and that haze will be with us again, not only through the next few hours and during the day tomorrow as well. I'll have more on that in just a second. That's thanks to a west-northwesterly wind at 13 miles an hour. And because of that, the dew points, they were up between 70 and 75 earlier today. Now they're coming down into the 60s, but it still makes it feel like 84 degrees outside right now. It's significantly cooler than it was yesterday, temperature-wise, especially up toward the north, where we've got temperatures in the middle and upper 70s. But here again, downtown Utica, 81 after an official high today of 83. And over in Syracuse, it's in the 80s right now, and it got up to 94 degrees yesterday. Here it got up to 91. So definitely considerably cooler than it was at this time yesterday. For most of us, anywhere from 2 to 8, maybe as much as 10, 12 degrees in some cases, especially as you head up toward the north and west, where we are seeing the northwesterly wind in the wake of that cold front. Again, the dew points right now for most of us are into the 60s, but there are still several spots down toward the south where the cold front hasn't technically crossed quite yet, that we are dealing with dew points in the 70s. Radar is tracking a few showers over northern and north central Herkimer County and into portions of eastern Fulton County as well, but most of those are just producing some heavy downpours, and those are going to be with us through the next 1 to 2 hours, and there could be some gusty winds out there as well. But where they are getting, or where they were getting blasted with some severe weather, was portions of southern New England down toward the tri-state area, where there is still a severe thunderstorm watch for the next few hours because of that cold front. But to the north and west, we have clear skies. High pressure will be in control for our Saturday, and that means temperatures under a little bit of humidity and pleasant conditions will be in the mid-80s for most of us. Subtract about 5 or 6 degrees as typical to the north and down toward the south. And again, with that westerly and northwesterly wind that will be with us tomorrow around 10 to 15 miles an hour, that means you'll have to account for a little bit of haze in the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere, and maybe a little bit down at the surface as well. Tonight we could see some patchy fog with lows between 60 and 65. Other than that, a few clouds, more clouds late in the day tomorrow, but still plenty of sunshine. And then it absolutely pours tomorrow night into Sunday morning, I should say, with some of that heat and humidity heading our way, especially as we head into Monday, when we could be talking about some heat exhaustion, heat stroke yet again, with temperatures making their way into the upper 80s to around 90. Definitely feeling like the lower 90s, though, especially on Monday with a mix of sun and clouds. And then we'll be dealing with a few spotty storms and showers both Tuesday and Wednesday. And then Thursday into Friday, as we close out the month of July, I should say, and start August, it'll feel kind of like fall in the 70s.
Feels like fall and getting even closer to fall as we keep going through here. And of course, we got plenty of county fairs coming up. So if you're going to be out there or down in Cooperstown for Hall of Fame weekend, make sure you're...
Brought to you by Nye Automotive Group. Come see why it's gotta be Nye. Your eyewitness weather forecast.
A good Friday evening to everybody. I'm meteorologist Jordan Reed, tracking sun and clouds, highs in the 80s for tomorrow before we see another warm front that could bring some heavy rain as we head into Sunday morning. So let's get right to what's going on out there right now. Downtown Utica, 68 degrees, I should say, is the dew point. The temperature not far from that, 72 as approaching 10:17 this evening. And those dew points will continue to come down because of the westerly wind at around 6 miles an hour. It still feels like 72 at this time. Those westerly winds will draw in a bit of haze as we head through the day tomorrow because of those continuing Canadian wildfires. So temperatures from the valley on toward the south in the upper 60s to lower 70s. Camden still at 76 degrees. The cool spot right now is up at Old Forge. That's at 64. And that's where we also have, well, we'll get to that in a second, the dew point. But high temperatures today, 85 was a fairly popular number. Utica, Herkimer, Cooperstown, and Syracuse all hit it, as well as Boonville. And mind you, Syracuse hit a high of 94 yesterday, 91 downtown Utica. Still, that was 8 to 10 degrees cooler than it was at this time yesterday, even as much as 12 degrees cooler in areas like Watertown and Syracuse. But that humidity is still up there right now. Those dew points, it's a measure of how much moisture is in the air, is still in the 60s to, in some cases, closer to 70. But that's better than it was earlier today when it was between 70 and 75. Old Forge, where I mentioned we have a temperature temperature of 64. The dew point there is 59. So that's the reason why there could be some patchy fog, especially in areas that did see some downpours earlier this afternoon, because the temperature and the dew point will continue to be close in the lower and middle 60s. You're not seeing much out there in the radar right now, mainly just some ground clutter around our radar sites. Where they did get blasted with some severe weather was across portions of Connecticut, mainly a lot of straight line wind damage and some heavy rain, where it got up to 96 degrees in Hartford, but it felt like over 100. Same thing down closer to the tri-state area. And thankfully that threat has come to an end over the last 3 to 6 hours or so. High temperatures tomorrow are going to be within a couple of degrees of where they were today. So Utica and Herkimer could very well reach 85 again. But with a southerly breeze, it looks like Syracuse could be closer to 90. And you'll also notice a light amount of haze and smoke, not only in the upper, middle, and upper levels of the atmosphere, but here at the surface because of a westerly wind. Other than that, tomorrow there's not much to complain about. A few clouds in the sky overnight tonight, temperatures between 60 and 65, maybe a little bit cooler than that as you head up toward the north. Tomorrow we will see definitely an increase in clouds late in the day, and then there's some of those downpours along into the north of the thruway as we head through Sunday morning. Looks like the best threat for that is between 2 a.m. and about 10 a.m. or so, and then we'll see improvements as we head through the afternoon. The main threats with that being some heavy rain as well as some lightning, a low chance for damaging wind as well as some hail. And I should mention that heavy rain threat is going to be conditional, just depending on where you are. Some of you may see as much as 1 to 2 inches of rain on Sunday morning, and some of you may not even see much. So just depending on where you are, around the middle 80s both days, and we'll definitely see more humidity as we go through Sunday, and definitely as we go through Monday. Upper 80s, closer to 90 degrees, could feel like the middle to upper 90s though when you factor in that humidity. And then we've got some isolated storm chances Tuesday, Wednesday of next week.
Thank you, Jordan. It's that time of year again, baseball fans.
Now, your eyewitness weather forecast.
And a good Friday evening to everybody. I'm meteorologist Jordan Reed, tracking a pleasant Saturday followed by some storms to start our Sunday. So let's get right to that forecast with 71 degrees right now in downtown Utica as of 11:12 this evening. Temperature, dew point, I should say, 68 degrees. The wind's out of the north-northwest at 3 miles an hour, and that's what's going to lower the dew point during the overnight hours. And it feels like 71. That dew point, by the way, measure how much moisture is in the air. It was in the middle and lower 70s earlier today. Right now, we've got temperatures already down into the 60s, both in the southern hills and in the Adirondacks and North Country, like Boonville, 64, Old Forge, 63. Both Utica and Herkimer are at 71, and Syracuse was at 73 after. In all three places, actually, we got up to 85 degrees, which was much cooler than it was yesterday. Syracuse got up to 94, downtown Utica 91 yesterday, and we have temperatures over most of the region that are going to be similar during the day tomorrow compared to what they were today, within a couple of degrees of that. And as I mentioned, significantly cooler than it was at this time yesterday, as much as 7 to 11 degrees in some locations, which I think is a nice change. I think many of us would agree with that. And there's some of those lower dew points getting into portions of northern Hamilton, northern Herkimer County, both at 59 degrees right now, and they will come down into the lower 60s for most of us during the overnight hours. So because the dew point and the temperature are going to be so close, there could be some patchy fog in some locations, especially where you did see rain earlier this afternoon. No rain to speak of on the radar right now. It is dry, other than just some ground clutter that's being detected around the radar sites, where they did get slammed with some severe weather. Portions of southern New England, Connecticut, the tri-state area, mainly a lot of straight line wind damage and a lot of heavy rain, because, for example, Hartford, Connecticut had a high temperature today of 96 degrees, but it felt like well over 100 with those dew points into the lower and middle 70s. Temperatures, as I mentioned, during the day tomorrow, give or take around a couple of degrees of where they were today. And tomorrow you'll also notice with the westerly wind, especially in the late morning, early afternoon, there could be be some of that mid and upper level haze and maybe a little bit of it making its way down to the surface. During the overnight hours, again, there could be some patchy fog. Other than that, just some clouds at times, temperatures in the 60s. Tomorrow we'll make it up into the mid 80s, definitely more noticeably cloudy as we head through the afternoon. And then there's some of those downpours. The best threat for that looks to be between about 2 and 10 a.m. on Sunday morning, with the best threat being some heavy rain as well as some lightning. Can't rule out some damaging winds as well as a bit of small hail, but again, the rain being the main threat. 1 to 2 inches possible in some locations. Some of us not getting very much at all, but then the attention shifts toward Monday and Tuesday, with temperatures making a run at 90 degrees once again. And then once we get past Wednesday, it starts to quiet and cool down as well.
A bit of a rough end to Hall of Fame weekend and the Boonville-Oneida County Fair, but if you are heading to either of those events, make sure that you are staying safe when you're outside and drink plenty of water.
Yeah, and make sure to keep an eye on that radar too, especially for Sunday morning.
All right, thanks again, Jordan. Still to come on Eyewitness News.